It's still live streaming. I just want to make sure that it's going to be on mute, otherwise we get feedback. Okay, there we
go. Okay. Well, thank you guys for meeting with us today. We did send over a packet of information. Hopefully you guys all received it. It does include your draft audit reports and some other required communications. We're going to highlight everything we want to walk through today using our PowerPoint that's on the screen, but you'll want to we'll periodically refer to maybe the page number of a packet so that you guys can actually see the audit reports and stuff. It's important for us to spend some time going through those audit results because they are still in draft form. Make sure you guys understand what's going to go out to the public in your audit report, answer any final questions that you guys might have and such. I guess I should do introductions just in case anyone doesn't know us. I'm Lindsay. I'm the audit manager for Team Vancouver, and with me is Christina. She is a supervisor on the team, and she was your audit lead this year. So she led the team that conducted the audit. We do have 2 reports to walk through today. Know that you can stop us at any point if you guys have any questions. We're happy to take them, or we'll pause periodically and ask for questions as well. Before we get started, we like to just do a reminder about why the results matter. As a reminder about our office, we're an independent organization that audits all local governments and state agencies across the state of Washington. So we really do hope you find value in having us come in and conduct those independent, transparent examinations. We also try to help, with improving effectiveness and efficiency in your organization. So as we came across any things that we're doing really well that we'd like you to see, or we'd like to see continued, we would comment on those. And then likewise, if there's any room for improvement, we would comment on those as well and provide recommendations for you. Overall, the audit went very smoothly this year. Not a surprise. And we have some good audit results to walk through. I'm going to let Christina walk you through the actual audit reports. And so the first one is your financial statement audit.
So starting off with a financial audit, which covered transactions and reporting of fiscal year 2023. The objective of a financial audit is to give an opinion as to whether users of the financial statements can place reliance on the information that's being reported. As you can see here in this first blue box, we are issuing an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion on the city's financial statements, which is just providing assurance that the statements are accurate and can be relied upon to make decisions. If you're following along in the packet, the opinion paragraph is in the financial report. It's on page 20. Because the city prepares its financial statements in accordance with the BAR's cash basis accounting manual, we are required by audit standards to disclose in the financial report anytime a local government elects to report statements under any accounting method other than GAAP. So as you'll see here in the second bullet here, starting on page 20 of the packet, we are issuing a second opinion, which is an adverse opinion, just to state that the city doesn't prepare those GAAP statements. Our audits are conducted in accordance with government auditing standards. And those standards require that we gain an understanding of internal controls or processes that the city went through to prepare the financial statements. We also, as part of that process, we review for any instances of non-compliance that has the potential to impact the city's financial information as it's presented. However, we didn't identify any control deficiencies or non-compliance that we needed to disclose with you today or that are included in your report. If we had, they would be included in the report that starts on page 16 of your packet. But again, the financial audit went really well. There's nothing included in your report, so it's all standard language and doesn't reference any control or compliance concerns. We do have some required communications here. Had we identified any significant or material errors that were corrected during the audit, we would be required to share those with you today. However, as you can see here, we didn't identify any large errors that were corrected. We also don't have any uncorrected misstatements that are in your financial statements that we would need to disclose with you as well. So very positive audit results. We do have one item that we give special attention to during the financial audit. we evaluate the possibility that management could circumvent certain control processes. So we did perform that evaluation and didn't identify any instances where controls were circumvented. Can I answer any questions on the financial audit? I don't think I see anybody shaking their head or anything, but I'm going to move on to the federal audit. So our audit procedures were also performed for fiscal year 2023, and the objective of this audit is to determine whether the city complied with requirements of just receiving the federal funding. So as you can see in the first blue box, we are issuing, again, an unmodified opinion on the city's compliance with program requirements. Again, because our audits are conducted in accordance with government auditing standards and uniform guidance, we are required to gain an understanding of the internal controls or the processes that the city goes through to ensure that the federal grant requirements are followed. Had we identified any concerns with those processes or instances of non-compliance with the requirements, we would also be required to communicate that with you today. However, we're happy to report that the audit identified no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal controls. We also didn't identify any instances of non-compliance with the program we looked at. So for this year's single audit, we looked at the congressionally mandated projects funding. That project makes up like 90% of your federal expenditures. So we got pretty good coverage on your CFA. And for anyone following along in the packet, the single audit report starts on page 20. Do want to say the federal government is very specific on what they have us look at and how we report any issues. And just statewide, we've seen an increase in issues related to our federal audits specifically. So it is very positive that we have very clean audit results for both the financial and the federal audit. Before we get to closing remarks, is there any questions or anything that I can answer on either of the audits?
That was when we were all just that word, yeah.
I heard something, but I didn't hear what. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's the door closing, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay, you guys are making it easy on us today. So we are cruising right along to the closing remarks. Another positive thing is our audit costs will be less than we provided in our estimate at the beginning of the audit. We will be back next year it'll be a bigger audit. We'll again do the 1-year financial and federal program audit, but then we'll be doing our 2-year accountability or compliance audit. And we have provided an estimate in your packet on page 2 for that work. I do believe it covers one major program. So depending on what the final results of your CFA are next year, that number could change just depending on what we're required to look at for that audit. So today is Monday. Your report will probably publish a week from today on our website. There is a link here to get signed up to be notified when our reports are published. Leanna, there is a little bit of a new process with data collection forms this year. There's a new website, so the form looks a little different, the process a little different, but Lindsay will work with you and send you some emails when that is ready to finalize on your end. And then also we do have an audit survey that goes out. There are parts of the audit process we can't change just to make sure that we're maintaining our independence and following audit standards. But for the things that we can, we really do appreciate any and all feedback you have for us. So it can be specific to our local team, the services we provide, or statewide as well. And then lastly, just want to say thank you for all the assistance that was provided throughout the audit. Leanna was really great at communicating with us. She responded very timely to our audit questions and any of our requests. I do specifically want to mention the city's efforts to prepare for the audit. There was several documents that were ready to go at the very beginning of the audit. It really does help us to efficiently move through our audit process, which obviously in turn helps save audit costs. So it's good for the city as well. So thank you. It was great to work with you this year.
Any final questions for us?
So one thing that we were talking about before the meeting started and then it got kind of sidetracked was the difference between GAAP and cash basis, and if and if there's a benefit for small cities to be GAAP versus cash basis. I think from my perspective, I only see it as the additional workload to report GAAP, but I don't sort of understand the benefits of GAAP. Do either of you have any? Do you have any references or places you can send us if you don't have any?
I think they don't, Christina, don't they do like a section in the BARS manual that kind of compares and contrasts? I mean, do you know, Christina? I think there is something. I can look. There used to be something, so I would just have to check to see. It's really based on your guys' needs, right? We have no opinion in the matter. We'll audit either way, right? Either way is allowed. I mean, I think we feel the same way as you. GAAP is a lot more. So instead of just having one financial statement, a debt schedule, and notes, right? You guys would have to create a lot more financial statements because you report at the government wide and then at each individual fund level for governmental funds. So think your general fund and all your special revenues, right? And then you'd have to do another set of financials, which would include like your statement of cash flows for all of your water sewer fund and your ER&R fund, right? So it becomes a lot more financial statements. And then do your readers need that much detail? There's no reporting of your capital assets right now on your financial statements currently, but you guys must be tracking your capital assets to know, maintenance schedules and, when is it time to replace things and do you repair it? So you guys have that information somewhere. So council and operations gets that information. Does anyone of the reader of the financial statements need that information on the face of the statements? That's the decision you guys have to make, right? It's way more costly to audit GAAP financial statements than cash. So that's something to take into consideration as you guys are making decisions. It would be a significant increase in your audit cost to go GAAP.
And I think cost the city in preparing the statements at year end and accounting for those transactions throughout the year. We've seen more, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but we've seen more governments go from cap to GAAP cash. Then I don't know if I've seen anybody go from cap
voluntarily from Well, and
no.
we switched from GAAP to cash, I think in 2015. So I think it was when we had to start depreciating the streets.
It was before. I remember that was one of my first audits when I started with SAO, is coming out and working with Mary Ann and doing that audit. So it was, I think, 2005.
Wow. Yeah.
So
sorry, when you switched to cash, it was later.
But switched to cash.
Yeah, it was later. But I remember that first one.
You don't foresee any regulatory consequences going forward, continuing to use the accounting basis that we're using?
No, I know there was conversation years past, like was there going like bonds, rating agencies and stuff, would they require GAAP? And so we met with them as an office. I think a lot of people did, that allowed the regulatory basis to just explain, the requirements for our standpoint of why we feel like all the information is there and stuff. And we haven't seen people have an impact to their bond rating agencies and stuff like that with doing cash at all. So yeah, nothing that we can think of.
I think there's a lot of outreach on that topic when we started issuing those adverse opinions a few years ago. But I know that's something that's like nationwide. I mean, it's not specific to like Washington State.
Yeah, I think the language change is what triggered the questions. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah, it's been a few years, but we knew when we started putting that in our reports. I think that was something that came as a result of an audit, maybe of our office. I can't recall, but it was something that our audit reports weren't following exactly what we needed to for audit standards. And so I know there's a lot of outreach done at that point to reach out to insurance providers and bond rating agencies and whatnot.
The most thing we've seen lately is bond rating agencies wanting timely audits. So they have required some of our audits to go to 1 year versus where we would allow them to do a 2 or a 3. But the timeliness of the information, I think, is a bigger importance than which method of accounting they use. That seems to be the information that we've heard. Great question.
Lucy, did you have any questions?
No, that was the only adverse opinion in the whole report.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like,
Well, like Christina was saying, when they started adding that, everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
It is scary when you're, when you see that in your audit report, but it really just means we're not giving you that opinion because you didn't prepare those statements. So
okay.
I'm impressed you read those reports.
In that much detail, right?
No, I think that's great.
Yeah. Mhm. Well, we want to say thank you again. Liana, you're always such a pleasure to work with because you're so prepared and ready for us and you make the audit go smoothly. So thank you guys again. And then obviously the council's participation, we do appreciate it.
thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your guys' summer. You know, you can reach out if you have any questions that come up between now and your next audit, okay?
Thanks so much. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.